Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President, Founder of AgileDad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. It's Friday. We made it through another amazing week. I hope that you had an amazing week too. Lots of big changes here in the US, lots of exciting things going on. The world is just becoming better and better every day, and I couldn't be more proud to be part of it. Today, it's Friday, so I have an agile, not so agile topic I wanted to talk to you about. And, we all talk about the values of Scrum: focus, openness, respect, commitment, and extreme courage. But I think that one thing that we often don't talk about that we probably should is integrity. And, standing up for what you believe in, doing the right thing, and being in the right place. And there's a story that I want to share with you about some college students, and it's called The Ultimate Test. And here's the story. It says one night, four college students stayed up late, partying, having a good time, even though that they had a really extremely important test, a final to take the next day. The next morning, they came up with a plan to get out of taking the test. Each student went outside and reluctantly rolled around in the dirt and got completely filthy, and then went into the teacher's office. They then explained to the professor, they said, we got a flat tire the night before, and we had to spend nearly the entire night pushing our car back to campus. We're completely exhausted and would like to defer taking the test. The teacher listened and nodded, and to the students' delight, he offered a retest 3 days later. The students were thrilled because they got to attend the party and they got to, take the test later. So on the day of the test, the professor had arranged for separate, smaller pods for each person to be in to take the test. So he put people in different places and he had allowed them ample time to study. So the students had no worries about that because, well, they all had studied by this point, right? So they knew the material pretty well. So he put everyone into the room and then he handed them a sheet of paper with the test. And the test had exactly two questions. The first question, your name, was worth 1 point. The second question, which tire was flat? Worth 99 points. Front right, front left, back right, back left. When I read this at first, I thought, wow, what an understanding professor. But then I thought about taking responsibility for our actions. And when you're dishonest with someone, or when you're blaming other people for your mistakes and not living up to, being accountable and responsible for what you need to do. Christopher Avery talks about the responsibility process quite a bit, and being responsible for your actions and taking part of what you need to do. And what I can tell you is that people struggle with taking responsibility for their actions, and people also take shortcuts to try to avoid facing what inevitably is going to be a bad situation. In this case, since they all lied, they were all going to have disagreeing answers about which tire was flat, and obviously all would fail the test. It opened my eyes for a second and made me interested in learning more about, when we go to work each day, do we work with the utmost integrity, or do we work with the utmost integrity first, right? Do we always try to do what's right? Do we always strive to work our hardest? And I would argue that the majority of us, if I asked that question, would raise their hand and say, yeah, I do that. But the second part of the question is the more interesting part. If I asked how many of you felt like you were surrounded by people who did the very same thing, that every single person you work with can work every day, work with the utmost honesty and integrity, and did all they could to be, a contributor. And this is the one where very few people would raise their hands. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that we need to cross that threshold and set example. We need to lead by example and show the world that we can work with integrity and that we're willing to take responsibility for our actions and that we are ready to take things to the next level. And I think that when we get to the point where we're comfortable with taking responsibility for our actions and we're comfortable with being accountable and we're comfortable with all these things, it's going to help us be better contributors and better team members. And it's going to help us really fly forward at a pace that's been unheard of. It's going to allow us to better understand ourselves and better understand the people that we work with. So I hope that this inspires you to short lesson about integrity and honesty. I hope that it helps you really embrace and figure out some of the things that you can do to be a better person and be a better contributor. And I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope you enjoy spending time with your friends and family. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Until next time, we'll see you on Monday. Do take care.